That's right, customers are getting upset with Ford as sales keep climbing. 10.5% year-over-year sales increases for Ford in the month of February, and yet cost of living crisis is an all-time high, borrowing prices are very, very high, and people just can't seem to get a deal. Now, while there's excess inventory of Rams, Jeeps, Chrysler products, and even GM is struggling to sell some of their vehicles, Ford seems to have no problem. While they've had some fluctuating electric vehicle sales, their hybrid markets are on the upswing, and their internal combustion engines are not giving up the ghost, and customers are finding it hard to pay these increasing prices. Yes, in my opinion, Ford's going to continue increasing the prices of their brand new trucks. In the month of February, Ford managed to sell as many as 174,000 units. Now that's a collection of internal combustion vehicles, hybrids, as well as electric vehicles. And increases of 81% contributed to EVs, 32% were hybrids, and as well 7.5% were increases in the internal combustion space. But that's a smaller percentage because that's the majority of their marketplace, and people are mostly buying F-150s, F-250s, and a lot of their smaller vehicles that are still gas jobbies, internal combustion vehicles, for example, like Ford Escapes, and all of their other smaller vehicles. And all of this rising on the back of Ford committing more money into the hybrid space. 12,000 units in February were sold pure hybrid, and we know F-150s, Mavericks. Ford's got numerous vehicles in the hybrid drivetrain space, but 6,000 of those alone were just by Mavericks. And Mavericks, we know, were a hard vehicle to get. People want something that's more affordable and a pickup truck, and that seems to fit the bill for most people. And Ford, of course, has not given up on the electric vehicle space. We also know that they're struggling trying to maintain, and with strong competitors coming down the chute with electric vehicles as options, Ford is struggling to keep people incentivized to buy their vehicles. The Ford Lightning is one that they've had to constantly playing yo-yo with customers and their emotions and their bankrolls, because the F-150 Lightnings have not maintained a level of popularity. While they had the hot spot and they had the hot seat, and a lot of people were itching to get those when they first came out, the reality is they were priced way too high. The vehicles didn't have the range, and even CEO Farley admitted, this isn't cutting the mustard. Not literally, but that seems to be the way. As well as the Ford Mustang Mach-E seems to be the other end of the spectrum, where they're trying to sell a lot of those electric vehicles there too, but the Mustang Mach-E has not been that great of sales overall. With all of that said, in the month of February, Ford witnessed about a 64.3% increase in the sales of their electric vehicles. Sales of their electric vehicle SUVs went up about 23.7% to a tune of about 85,000 units sold. However, the F-Series fell and flopped about 5.8% in February as well. But here's the statistic that I just don't understand. Now, we hear a lot of people are complaining the cost of trucks, I'm never buying, I'm not buying, that's a ripoff. Keep fixing. I would suggest fix what you've got, because nothing speaks louder than speaking with your wallet. And as long as people keep spending money and buying these expensive, overpriced trucks with high levels of technology, these manufacturers are going to continually edge up these MSRPs. Gone are the days of the middle class like myself and some of you folks where we could go down and easily afford a mid-size pickup truck. That's becoming a thing of the past, and it's definitely becoming a thing of the rich and wealthy, which I am neither. So unfortunately, that's a situation where we have to speak with our wallets, because sales are clearly up. On the F-150, one of the most popular trucks on the market, they're outpacing Chevy and far outpacing Gia and far outpacing the likes of Ram with Stellantis, which those ones are filling up lots and they literally cannot sell too many of those Dodge trucks. Would you believe in the first 2 months, Ford has sold 100,500 units of the F-Series pickup trucks, which outpaces Chevy and GM by more than 21,000 units. And so the bottom line is people are still getting on board, and would you believe that sales of EVs and electric vehicles are on the rise in February? But with all that told, 89.5% of Ford's total sales are still going to their internal combustion vehicles. Again, we talk about some of the Rangers, Mavericks, F-150s, 250s, and all of their more traditional internal combustion vehicles are still the majority, almost 90% of what Ford sells. Again, I can't believe it. And as long as Ford is selling these numbers and outpacing its competition, we're going to continue seeing these prices edge up year over year over year. Now, with that said, in 2024, some of the F-Series were actually held back in February because of some quality issues. And we know that Farley, the CEO of Ford, is qualified in saying that he believes quality needs to come up. We need to incrementally improve that. Quality hasn't been where it's needed to be. We also need to look at some of the recalls, and there shouldn't be recalls coming out that the dealer or that the owners of the new vehicles should be dealing with. It should be dealt with at the OEM level and even at the dealership level before these vehicles even get to the customer level. So they actually held off a pile of F-150s and F-Series pickup trucks at port, didn't allow them and didn't release them to the customers for sake of some specific quality issues that they were concerned with. As a result, about 5.8% were held back, or about 51,800 units. So there was a little bit of a downtick in that because of the sales due to quality issues that Ford just elected to hold back. Probably more concerned with a little bit of the reputation, in my personal opinion, because clearly some bad quality issues can lead to a lot of front page news. And people say they're not buying or they can't afford, but Ford's seen some record sales. Yes, 311,000 units altogether with all models were sold in the first 2 months. That's up actually from the year over year of 6.6%. Somebody's making money, and it's sure not me. And so Ford's have been appreciating some record levels of sales with the XL or the STX trim of the new F-150. And we're talking about the 2024 model years. They're off to a booming start and selling lots of trucks, and people are buying these trucks. I still struggle with what that actually means for the long haul, and I think it's all about supply and demand, everybody. The more demand is, and people are clearly showing demand because sales are rising year over year, then increase, obviously they'll back that up with supply, but of course that drives pricing up. And this is all under the breath of high interest rates. Yes, people are still buying. So how do you expect the federal government and the banks and the Reserve and Canada, US to drop their interest rates and their loan rates when people are still buying? Houses are selling at an alarming rate. Clearly, Ford's winning. GM's selling maximum vehicles as well. Even Toyota and Honda are making maximum sales, and those are great indicators. Ram, Stellantis, and Jeep are struggling out of the box, but even those guys are selling, and that manufacturer OEM is selling vehicles. So people are still buying. So do we expect interest rates to dive bomb off the deep end of the ledge? Not anytime soon. Clearly, because if people are buying these new pickup trucks and SUVs, and they're selling at an alarming rate, prices are only going to continue to rise. So what do you think that does for consumers? I don't know about you, but that makes me really angry. That upsets me. That actually pisses me off, because quite frankly, it's putting these vehicles way out of touch, way out of reach, and I'm not able to afford to buy a brand new truck anytime soon with the rise of inflation and interest rates, as well as the increasing vehicle prices of all of these Fords, Rams, of course, GMs. They're all going up. And what about some of their competitors? How about Honda? They sell a Ridgeline and other vehicles that are popular. 100,000 units sold, and they're actually 37.8% year over year increase in sales. So they're seeing major growth as well in Honda. What about Toyota? Some other competitors from the foreign market. They went up about 16%, up to about 195,000 units sold. While Lexus, their big brother or luxury brand leg, sold about 17% increase as well. And Toyota's combination of electric vehicles, which we know have very few, and their hybrid vehicles went up about 84% these last 2 months to about 68,444 units sold in total. So clearly everybody is making money. Cars are being sold, trucks are being sold. So where does this ever end? And what's in store for Ford? Well, the way I see this, Ford is expanding their marketplace, their market share. They're digging into more, taking more market share from Ram. I was actually the other day sitting outside watching a GM dealership, looking around to see what kind of products they had, and I saw a bunch of Ram trucks, one after another, just driving through, scoping out the lot, seeing what they're doing, and then I saw them heading over to the neighborhood Ford dealership, checking out what they had there. So now we're seeing Ram buyers looking for the alternatives. They're looking for Fords and GMs. And so the way I see this, until prices start coming down, the affordability crisis just goes on, and this is just a crisis, a big one in fact. And Ford is clearly leading the charge with an ongoing sales success. With all of that said, be sure to check out what's going on with GM and their whole truck crisis. Yeah, they're struggling to sell trucks as well. Clearly the last couple months has been a little bit of an exception. Hope to see each and every one of you on the next one. We'll see you all real soon. Bye-bye.